TG Geeks, episode 238, September 9th, 2019. What could possibly go wrong? Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre. You name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane. We're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely, still monsoons, Phoenix, Arizona, and we're home.
And I'm Ben Raggington. Yeah. And I'm Ben Raggington, and I'm tired.
I am too. So let's get on with the show.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, in this show, we have Jason T. Gaffney, who is the writer, director, star of the new film Analysis Paralysis. So you'll get to hear all about that in that interview. It's a charming little film. We have our birthday shout-outs, as always, our featured podcast of the week, and some feedback, as well as in our second segment, we're going to talk about kind of another wrap-up of CocoCon, and then a weekly recap and a regular shout-outs. So
weekly recap?
Weekly recap, yes.
Weekly recap.
There we go.
The recap that reeks.
Yes. The chalice that reeks. No, it's just an old
It's an old
pot.
clay pot with mold growing in it.
With moss growing in it, yes. All right, here we go. And this time we welcome Jason T. Gaffney. He is actor, screenwriter, director.
Award-winning
writer, yes. And he has a new film that we're going to talk about. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah. So tell us who Jason T. Gaffney is before we talk about your film. So what is your history? And there's a couple of interesting things that we got an email about and how you kind of approached this subject. So tell us who you are to for our listeners.
Yeah. So I'm a filmmaker who my origin story was that I started doing musical theater when I was 6 years old, and I fell in love with acting and storytelling in general. And as I got older, I realized that film was the medium for me. And then I started to realize I liked making the films not just as an actor, but also writing the stories and directing and producing the stories. And as I got older, I also started to notice that there was a niche film like genre of the LGBTQ variety, and I started noticing that there weren't that many LGBTQ films that focused on LGBTQ characters post coming out. And so I wanted to start telling stories of gay people, lesbian people, etc., who they've already come out. We've already seen their coming out story earlier, and now it's just them living their lives and as normal people.
Right.
And that's kind of where I live.
Interesting. So Mona shared a little thing with us about your coming out story. Tell us about that. I think it's
cute.
It's just cute. It's very different than ours. We're old enough to be your father, so.
So yeah, I got really lucky. I totally hit the jackpot as far as family and the where I grew up and everything, as far as acceptance and love and everything. And I totally acknowledge that. And I'm hoping that more and more people are experiencing this, and more people who are younger than me, who are in the LGBTQ community, kind of share my coming out story more so than they used to. But basically, I didn't really realize I was gay until everyone else had. So
isn't that the way it always is?
Yeah, I know, right? And so my parents created a very healthy environment for me as I was growing up. And finally I figured out, I think I might be gay. And so I came out to my mom right before bedtime because we had this ritual where she'd come tuck me in and she'd grab any laundry that needed to be done that I'd thrown on the floor, as most teenagers do.
Well, of course.
And I told her, Mom, I think I might be gay. And she said, great, I love you no matter what. Where are your socks? And because the whole idea behind her saying that way was that she wanted to make it a non-issue.
Right.
She didn't want it to be like, oh, we have to try to figure this out. It's like, yeah, and your eyes are hazel and your hair is brown and you're right-handed. Great. What's next?
That's great. I wish it had been that easy for us, but
we
live in a different age.
No, it was for me, actually.
For you. You know.
I mean, I had a really easy time. I mean, I remember. I figured myself out. I'm really quite the late bloomer, and I was already living away from home. And I called my mom one time, and I figured, okay, I need to tell her. And I just called her up, and I said, Mom, I've been doing a lot of soul searching, a lot of thinking. I think there's something I need to tell you about myself. And so help me God, I could hear her smile on the other end of the phone. And
I love this.
And I simply said, and I have a funny feeling you know what I'm about to say. And she says, honey, I've always known.
So, I love that.
Yeah, so that was it.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the Midwest in a very small town. My grandmother knew when I was born. She used to invite the neighbor boys over to her house, the ones that she knew were gay, and we would play in the sprinklers in our underwear.
Oh my!
My grandmother knew always, but the rest of my family had no clue, and I didn't even have a clue at that point. So, but my
grandma was smart. She was like, figure it out.
Yeah. Anyway, it's another story for another time that I would tell you. Anyway, so you have this wonderful environment. Your mother is an award-winning writer, and I mean, it's just a whole family of creative individuals, including your partner, husband. At this point, everybody's creative. Yeah. So hang on. Yeah.
I'm lucky.
Yeah, so that's great.
Very, very lucky.
I did notice in the film that at one point you're reading one of your mother's books.
Yes. Yeah, we had to give her a shout out. And in fact, all the books that were given to us in the film are real books.
Oh, wow.
We reached out to a lot of author friends of my mom's and publishers, et cetera, to get the rights to books, because you have to get the rights to use them because of copyright issues.
Right.
And we wanted to really feature real books that are out there so that we could promote authors who we love and who are great people.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So tell us about this film. This
is more than just a post-coming out film.
Yeah,
there's an actual concept behind this.
Yeah, so tell us what that is all about, and then, segue into the film itself.
So Analysis Paralysis is basically an LGBTQ romantic comedy, and it not only deals with a person who's just trying to live his life, but it deals with a young man named Tyler, who's the role I play, who struggles with extreme anxiety to the point where he can't make a choice on what to do until he has played out every possible outcome in his head. And that things can get pretty wacky and funny and scary at times.
No kidding.
Yeah, and so it's and as he basically realizes, he hits rock bottom and realizes that it's controlling his life, and so with the help of his therapist, he decides to pursue a relationship with a hot guy he sees running by his house all the time. His neighbor Shane, played by Kevin Held, who is such a joy to work with. So if you're an indie filmmaker out there, hire him. You're going to want to work with him.
And he's adorable, too.
Oh, he is quite cute.
As well as you.
Yeah. Thanks. And so basically we get to watch as their relationship blossoms, and you get to see all the kind of nerve-wracking experiences of the first date, the first time that they decide to make love together, the first time that they meet parents and move in, all the big scary stuff, and he imagines all the kind of chaos that could take place while that's happening.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting the way, we all have a certain amount of that analysis paralysis, or not to the extent that Tyler does, but I always,
Totally.
everything, before I do anything, it's always, oh my God, that email at work. What is this all about? It's so cryptic. Are they going to fire me or what? It's like, oh my God, the world is coming to an end.
Totally.
Yeah, that's something that I sort of related to as well. I mean, clearly I don't have it anywhere near to the degree that Tyler has it. But yeah, I've had situations where I've overanalyzed something to the point where my emotional reactions all of a sudden become completely unchecked. And I think that's one of the things that I really liked about, because yes, we seen the movie, we watched it on Friday night. So what I loved about your approach is that this was not a drama, because I was afraid that if this was just another drama, it's going to get lost in the noise. And it wasn't. You turned this into a comedy.
Which was incredible.
Very refreshing, and yet there is a lot of truth and honesty to this poor situation that Tyler has to contend with. I mean, we were commenting on that numerous times throughout the film. Yes, this is all being played for laughs, but there's a seriousness to all of this. What was your reasoning for wanting to take this into the more of the romantic comedy area?
Well, I'm a huge fan of comedy. I've always, sense of humor has always been strong with me. And I get that from my dad, who I co-wrote the film with, and my mom too, and of course the family, friends, and my environment growing up, because the world can be pretty brutal, and when laughter helps kind of ease pain of the brutalness of the world, and so we were looking, comedy's just always been my jam. I love watching people fall down. I love it when someone gets a pie in the face. It's just, if it can surprise me and make me laugh, then I'm a happy camper.
Well, the movie did that for us.
Oh, great. Yeah, so basically when we were looking at creating a film, we were kind of trying to figure out, we knew we wanted to do a comedy, and then once we started talking about the idea of playing multiple scenarios and outcomes in his head, then we realized, this is a comedic goldmine, because we can go super wacky. We can go, you can go more realistic, but you can also go to super wild scenarios, because people's imaginations are just limitless.
Exactly.
And so you're watching what, some of the stuff is a little more realistic, and some of it's just that would never happen. Why would you ever think that?
But it happened. But people think those things.
Of course. I do too. And so it's and so it's kind of, we wanted to take a chance at looking at mental illness and mental health, in the fact that people who are depressed, people who have mental illness, they don't just walk around in a stupor all day. They don't just spend their day in bed all day. They get out and they experience the world. They laugh. They experience all the emotions. They just have a bit more anxiety than the rest of people.
Right.
I can't thank you enough for doing that.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it stemmed from, was that we knew we wanted to do a comedy, and then once this idea kind of started molding and forming into a shape, we were like, we can really do this. Let's hit this hard, and let's show people that mental illness doesn't have just one face. And
I think that what I like about that is you don't make light of it. I mean, you hint at making light of it, but Tyler does say at one point, are you making light of my condition? And then there was that whole explanation, and then because you kind of flirt with it, but you always bring it back to reality, and always bring it back to, these are the crazy things that we dream up in our head, and it's all in our head, and it's not reality. So
and I think that's what I really loved about this, is that, I mean, I deal with anxiety, not anywhere near to the extreme that Tyler has it.
Well,
but I still
occasionally. But.
Oh, okay, if you say so. But I have that, and I also suffer daily with various degrees of depression. And yet I'm not, there's that stereotype that, you're a mopey kind of guy if that's what you are. And no, I go out, I function. I'm still a functional individual, and yes, I put on a good face, I laugh, whatever, but I still have that baggage that I carry with me on a day-to-day basis. And for you to take this film and actually show it in that light was an unbelievably refreshing look. I mean, it was such a breath of fresh air. I couldn't be happier with how you gave this a really unique approach, and I'm hoping that a lot of other people will be able to look at this film and say, there's a lot of truth here.
Thank you. Yeah, because that's the other thing is that mental health in general is still so taboo.
Oh my gosh.
When it shouldn't be. It's just a part of our lives.
Exactly.
And we should be talking about it so that people have a chance to have an outlet, have a chance to find a release. I'm a huge fan of therapy. I think therapy is the best thing I've ever done, other than marry my husband, obviously.
Right.
But it's definitely it's helped me leaps and bounds from where I've been,
Right.
So
I think it's great. Now, so I want to back up just a little bit and some of the technical stuff. I noticed that
Sure.
Your father helped you write it, and
Yep.
and your mother and your husband were producers, and
Yep.
the whole the whole film crew was female? Is that correct?
Not the whole film crew. But the camera department was predominantly female.
Right.
Which was just epic because you don't often see that. But Naisha Schreiner, who was our cinematographer, put together her film crew for her camera department, and they were just phenomenal. All of them, every single one of that part of the crew. I mean, the whole crew was phenomenal.
Right.
But the camera department just. I mean, they blew me away. I had an embarrassment of riches of footage, and actually I have another family member who worked on the project. My cousin Jack Ravina helped me edit the film, and he helped really whittle it down to just the best of the best. But there was takes after takes of funny stuff that just didn't make the cut because it wasn't as funny as what we put in.
Well, that's extra material on the
bonus
DVD.
material.
Bonus material on the DVD.
Yeah.
Or Blu-ray.
Totally.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And the reason I mentioned that is because I thought there is some nudity, but it's not full frontal. And it is
Right.
It is really well shot. And that the angles are perfect so that they just flirt with it enough that you know what's going on and you don't see anything that you're not supposed to see. So I thought that was great. And for, females to be able to do that, and I'm not casting aspersions, but you would think that it's more of a man thing to be able to film men that are naked versus women, and most of the time
Totally.
you see women that are naked in film all the time. So I just found that fascinating. Maybe I'm just way off base or something, but I thought it was great.
We actually had a lot of conversations about that, Naisha and I, about we want to show some nudity because, to me, when nudity is used, it should have a purpose in the film. It should either be something that is comedic or it should be plot-driven. There should be a reason for the character to be naked rather than just we'll have someone naked and that'll make people watch the movie.
Right.
That's called porn.
It's called gratuitous. Yes, yeah. Gratuitous porn.
Totally. And so we really tried to make sure that every element of it had a legitimate moment. For example, when Tyler and Shane, spoilers, finally do make love for the first time, it was very important for me in that moment that we see that Tyler isn't thinking about anything else. He's finally living in the moment for that moment and just experiencing joy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted that to be really clear, but also to not be just blah. And so I was really happy with how Naisha filmed it. And that day on set, by the way, was wild. You've got my dad standing in the other room watching the monitors and trying to shout directions while Kevin and I are trying to make it look like we're in the moment, because it's not sexy when you're filming that stuff.
No.
And then you've got two camera people with two cameras getting right up in your business and saying, like, move your arm left, move your arm right. And it's just, so it's you'd think it'd be a really sexy down set. It is not. It is the opposite.
Yeah, we've heard that before from other people, and I've read that in interviews with people that have had to film love scenes, and they say that when you're doing it on a set, it's anything but. But I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that I think a lot of people need to realize is that you're also the director of this movie, and that alone is one heck of an undertaking, and yet you, as Tyler, as the star of this film, there is not a scene in this movie that you are not in. You are in 100% of the movie. That has got to be challenging for anybody that is wearing both hats. And yet, so many of those other movies, there are many scenes where the director is not in the film. So they have that opportunity to be able to kind of take a step back and look at it more from an objective directorial standpoint. You are in the thick of it. What kind of challenge are you facing there? And then on top of that, we comment about, we talked about how the movie's got a lot of comedy, but there is a moment of some really great acting on your part towards the end of the film. Like in the last fifth of the film, there's a beautiful acting scene from you. So to be able to play director, play star of the film in all of that, how on earth did you manage to do that and not lose any remnant of sanity?
Well, he is insane. Didn't you know that?
That's making the assumption I had sanity to begin with.
Hence, I picked the word remnant.
Yeah. So I had a stellar support team. Having my husband on set, my husband Matt on set, to help with crafty, to help with getting the footage onto the drives, having my dad on set to be my extra set of eyes to watch the monitors while I was acting, because he knew exactly what I was looking for. Also, having Naisha and I, before we started filming, we mapped out every scene, what shots were necessary, what shots were not necessary, etc. And that way we could really nail what we needed to get. So we had everything in place so that when it got time to filming, I could focus on being present when I was acting. And then when the scene was done, I'd go back to putting my director hat and being like, make sure we get it this way and make sure this is set up here. Another little fun fact, by the way, is I also did the production design for the movie.
Oh, wow.
So we'd be in a scene and we'd finish the scene up, and then I'd be like, we're moving into this room. Now I have to go stylize the room as I'm getting changed. Again, I was able to do it because I had that amazing support team from my dad, from Naisha, from Nat, and everyone else. And also, that final acting scene was one of my favorite moments to actually film, because my dad really had a heavy hand in writing that particular scene, and he's just an awesome writer. And so getting to do those words and really connect with it was wonderful. And it was, surprisingly, the first time that I realized that I could cry on command.
Oh, cool.
I hadn't been able to do that when I was younger. And when we were filming this movie, the tears just came. And I was kind of like, oh, I guess I can do this now. And and so that was a lot of fun to kind of experience that on set and really feel that that kind of genuine moment.
Well, it was very touching.
Oh, it was so beautiful.
For me, there was water falling out of my eyes too.
It was beautifully touching.
We've been together for 23 years, and it sometimes seems like just yesterday. And that the whole dating process and that whole process that you went through, in that it brought it back anew. Mm-hmm. And it was wonderful. Thank you for doing that. Fun fact here. The lamps that you have in the bedroom,
I noticed that.
We have those lamps.
We have those lamps.
I just bought them like 2 weeks ago at IKEA. So,
Yeah.
because we needed
I
new
love
lamps
those
in our office.
Yeah, when I think when we saw the lamp, we got a big chuckle out of that. But I recognize that.
Anyway,
Yes.
I just what I was going to say earlier is that you were adorkably awkward in that film, and to be able to direct yourself to be that awkward the way you were,
and yet it be
just
real,
incredible. And have it be real,
have it be real, because
Exactly.
that's the trick. I mean, it could have turned into a caricature or something that seemed I don't want to say disingenuous, but just something that felt forced. And yet it wasn't. It felt extremely natural. Well, more than natural. It felt real to the point where I was immediately able to relate to Tyler.
Yep. So
Thank you. No, I had an acting teacher once say that you should always bring part of yourself to every character.
Oh, yes.
Whether you're that character or not. Because I've played the gauntlet at this point. I played a guy who abducted a woman and tortured her, and I'm not that person.
Oy.
But if you still bring a little piece of yourself to that, it just helps that realism come to life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
We all have some
So-
darkness in us, so I'm sure you
Yeah.
played on that.
Yes. Well, and I prefer the more adorable characters to the crazy kidnappers.
Exactly. I think I would too.
I would too, and I think anybody who watches this movie would have to agree, because
No serial killers.
no serial killers. No,
Yeah.
I mean, and I like you. I prefer the comedy. I'd rather laugh. I mean, we live in a rather dark age now anyway. There's a lot of ugliness in the world. So to be able to take a break from that, to step back and watch something that deals with a real issue and yet manages to, without being self-deprecating, have fun with it at the same time, was so lovely. And your performance was just marvelous. I mean, it seriously was. I was thrilled to find out that we were actually going to be talking to you.
Yeah.
It was because you were great.
And there was that one self-aware. The movie was aware of itself. That just one
yes,
moment.
that moment of
And it was-
self-awareness.
it
I
was
love
just-
that.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So with all that, where can people find out more about this movie? Where can they see it?
So they can see this movie on Amazon, on iTunes, or Google Play. You can rent it or download it on those 3 platforms, or you can stream it on the Deku app or on the Deku channel on Amazon Prime. So that's where you can see it right now. And if you want to find out more about it and kind of upcoming events and stuff like that, we have a newsletter at www.tinyletter.com/mypethippo. Our production company is My Pet Hippo Productions. And then you can also go to Facebook and look up Analysis Paralysis, the movie, and we have a page there that you can find out more information. Or you could find more about the movie on Twitter or Instagram with the handle @AP_the_movie.
Fantastic. So what about you, in case people want to learn more about what you're working on? Because you're not going to be sitting on your laurels. I mean, you've got other things that you're going to be, that I'm sure you have in the pipeline for down the road. So if people want to learn more about you, how can they do that?
So you can find me on Facebook. My name, Jason T. Gaffney, Jason, the letter T, and then Gaffney, G-A_Frank, Ney. And then my Twitter and Instagram handles are also at Jason T. Gaffney. And then you can find out some information about the next film coming out, hopefully towards the beginning of next year, called Out of Body, which is a paranormal rom-com involving ghosts.
Oh, cool.
nice.
That's cool. Well, this has been
So that's fun.
Yeah, this has been really enlightening and fascinating. Thank you so much for.
It's been
talking with
more
us.
than a lightning. In fact,
It
it's
was
been a
just great.
delight.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun. I can't wait to come back.
Hi, this is Queen Karishma. And you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
As always,
I never get tired of that.
I never get tired of Queen Karishma. That's kind of an inside joke. Anyway, That was a fascinating interview with Jason.
It was delightful.
As I said, he is just so adorkably awkward. Adorkable is the operative. Tyler.
The character. Yeah, I mean, we haven't met. I mean, we've only talked to Jason.
Yeah,
but he did say that in order for the character to be believable, you have to put a bit of yourself in there. So
absolutely.
I suppose maybe Jason is a bit adorkably cute.
Well, he is kind of cute, too. Anyway. And here's a few selected birthdays for September 9th through September 15th, 2019. September 9th, Hugh Grant, who was actually, my first exposure to Hugh Grant was in the E.M. Forster film, Morris, Merchant and Ivory film.
Actually that was mine too, but I didn't know that was him. My first recognizable recognition of him was Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah. Also on September 9th, Michael Bublé, Otis Redding, who we would not be sitting on the dock of the bay without, and Janet Fielding.
Tegan. Everybody's
from
favorite Australian companion.
Yeah. September 10th, Guy Ritchie, Colin Firth, Arnold Palmer. Yeah, well, he was named after a drink.
Yes, it was.
And then we have Robert Wise.
Ooh, magnificent.
Fabulous director.
Magnificent filmmaker.
Oh, my gosh. Star Trek Motion Picture, Andromeda Strain, Sound of Music, West Side Story, among others.
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
I'm telling you, just
the man
incredible.
Was amazing.
Yep. Also, Henry Purcell, who was actually a Baroque English composer, widely regarded as the greatest native-born English composer until Elgar von Williams and Benjamin Britten.
Britain.
Who are the Britons?
We all are.
We're all Britons.
And I'm your king. Oh, here
I
we go
vote
again.
For you.
You don't vote for king.
Also, on September 10th, Chris Columbus, who we wouldn't have Harry Potter.
Wouldn't have Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly. And Jose Feliciano.
We would not have Feliz Navidad without him.
Yeah, we would not have a Feliz Navidad. No, we would not. And Facebook friend and former neighbor and veterinary assistant, Shelley Andrew. Happy birthday, Shelley. And good friend of ours who we've known forever and a day, Gordon Street. Happy birthday,
Happy
Gordon.
birthday, Gordy.
September 11th, Harry Connick Jr. and Lola Falana. She danced in a set way back with Dinah Washington and kind of was discovered by Sammy Davis Jr. She acted in what would become the first spaghetti western and was all over American TV in the 60s.
I did not know about the spaghetti western.
Oh, yeah. She was on Carson, The Muppets, Laugh-In.
That I know.
Gosh, just everywhere. So Lola Falana, and also Facebook friend and opera singer Trevor Martin, and my sister.
Your favorite sister.
My favorite sister, exactly. Lynn Lane Hill. Happy birthday, Lynn. September 20th.
Wow.
12th. September 12th. Hans Zimmer. And you have to say it like that.
Yes.
Hans Zimmer.
Yeah,
composer. Neil Peart.
One of the greatest drummers ever.
Desmond Llewellyn.
Q,
absolutely. And let's see, Maurice Chevrolet. She was the inventor of the cars.
She?
He.
Oh.
I said he.
Okay, I thought you said sounded like you
Oh,
said
no,
she.
this is Maurice Chevrolet. I can't even say it right. Maurice Chevalier. Who,
now I'm expecting like Morris Cadillac or something.
Yeah, exactly. He actually starred in the Folie Bergère and also in Gigi.
I think a lot of people recognize him from that.
Exactly. And that was in his much later years. Also, Ian Holm.
Bilbo, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And
old Bilbo.
Old Bilbo, yes. And also, let's see, Helen Stevenson, who is the Prescott Film Festival. Dylan Welch, Facebook friend, and good friend of ours up in the Seattle area, Tiffany Wilhelm, who screams.
Yes, she does when you surprise her.
Yep. September 13th, Roald Dahl.
Author.
Richard Kyle.
Or is it Keel?
Keel.
Jaws, if I'm not mistaken.
Jaws, yes. He was the Bond villain. He was 7 feet 2
Man was
inches.
a monster.
My God. And Arnold Schoenberg, who was father of 12-tone music, who immigrated to the U.S. in 1933 because during the rise of the Nazi Party, his music was subversive because of the atonality.
That's subversive?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a lot of opinions about 12-tone, but subversive is not one of them.
Yeah, he was the father of 12-tone. He developed that method. It's the method of manipulating an ordered series of all 12 notes of a chromatic scale. Also, Clara Schumann, who was the...
You missed somebody.
Barbara Bain, sorry.
Yeah,
Barbara Bain.
Yeah, the ex-Mrs. Martin Landau.
Yes. And Clara Schumann, who was the wife of Robert Schumann and a composer of note in her own right. During yes. Yes. In the Romantic era, which in a field dominated by men, she wrote some incredible music. It's really great. Also, Don Bluth and Mel Torme.
The Velvet Frog.
Yes.
Fog.
Frog?
The Velvet Frog?
I don't know. Was he green?
Uh-huh.
Did he play Kermit? Also,
I got nothing.
Let's see, September 14th, Walter Koenig and Clayton Moore.
Who is that masked man?
He played the Lone Ranger, and the Lone Ranger may have been based on the life of Bass Reeves, who may have worn a white hat, but he was not white. He was.
We learned that in the TV series Timeless.
Yes, and also he was a deputy U.S. Marshal. And the first black...
He was a man of color.
Man of color west of the Mississippi. First deputy U.S. Marshal west of the Mississippi. And he worked with my great-great-grandfather.
Oh, now that I did not know.
Yeah, I've told you that before.
You have? Oh, God,
yeah.
You may have mentioned it just in passing, but I didn't retain it.
Bass moved to Muskogee, Oklahoma, and became at statehood when Muskogee became a city he was actually over Indian Territory and then settled in Muskogee and worked for the Muskogee Police Department.
Oh, far. So you've got a possible connection to the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, my great-great-grandfather was one of the jailers there at the police house. Also, let's see, September 15th, Tommy Lee Jones, Agatha Christie, who we've been watching some of Miss Marple and
Hercule Poirot.
And Fay Ray, who we would not have King Kong without. Or maybe we wouldn't have. Anyway. She was the screaming woman.
Yes, she was.
The original screaming woman.
I wouldn't say that we wouldn't have King Kong without her. But maybe King Kong wouldn't have died.
Well, maybe so, if he hadn't been holding on to her.
He fell in love with her, so he had to go back to New York.
Yep. And lastly but not leastly, Mary Brown, a good friend of ours, on September 15th. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama. And occasionally we make it up there to be on the show as well.
And to take over.
Yes. Hijack the show.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org. And
now, those dancing droids there. What does that mean?
That the droids are dancing.
The droids are dancing. And it is time for some feedback.
Yes, we have a little bit wish to share with you. This goes back to episode 236, and we got some feedback from our wonderful Arkle. He says, and I guess we had done some time shifting because we were about to go out of town. And Arkle says, the downside to time shifting, between when I left that comment about having watched a good movie for my show and today's episode, I posted one more episode. I think he's talking about his shameless cash grab.
Right, yes.
And he says, and that movie was, well, I can't say it was bad. The one thing that good and bad movies have in common is that they aren't boring. The werewolf versus the vampire woman was quite. I have to see just for the title.
Yeah, I love the title.
Yeah, he says it was quite boring, and I love this. It is, however, not the worst movie with the word "versus" in the title.
Oh dear.
That I've ever seen. I'll let the audience decide if that joke was about Batman versus Superman or about Alien versus Predator. I think I already know. The good movie I talked about was Horror Express, a forgotten gem of a horror movie with Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and Telly Savalas.
Oh my gosh.
Well, okay, you had me at Lee and Cushing.
Yeah. And
But
then
Telly?
Savalas in there? Oh
I mean, please tell me
Wow.
he takes a lollipop and says, "Who loves you, baby?" And then also for the same episode, we got an episode on our feedback on our Instagram, and this is from Good Troublemakers. And they said, listen to Kai Hazelwood's new interview on Two Gay Geeks podcast. She talks about how awesome the unicorn party is gonna be and more.
More and more.
More and more.
Yes.
And let's see. This is in regards to global digitaling press release. This is a press release. Regarding global digital releasing, sets date for release of dark comedy Groupers. And we got a comment from Global Digital Releasing. And they say, thank you, TG Squared Studios, for helping us to get the word out on Groupers. Opening September 27th at the Lamy Music Hall Theater in Los Angeles and expanding to additional cities on October 1st. Don't miss the film that will have you saying, homophobia is so totally gay.
And we're working on an interview with the director of that film.
Yes, we are. And then to close things off, this is regarding TG Geeks Coco Concast 2019 Episode 3. And we got a comment from the person we interviewed. That's Alexander. Did we interview from that? Was that for the Concast, or was that just a standalone?
That was a standalone.
Was a standalone? Okay,
Yeah.
well, Alexander James Adams, who was the guest of honor Filk artist for CocoCon, he left this in conjunction with CocoCon Episode 3. And he says, you guys are awesome, and it was a pleasure talking with you. Thanks for making me feel so welcome.
Absolutely. Everybody is welcome at our suite at any con whenever we do a con on Drag the Studios. So if you want to leave a comment, you can do that on our Facebook page or at tggeeks.com on any article or any episode. You can also comment on our Twitter and Instagram pages, or you can even call our listener line. We have a listener line, and if you leave us a voicemail, you can have that played on air, and we would love that. We've done that in the past, but nobody has taken advantage of that recently. But we would love for you to.
It's lonely.
Yes, you can call us at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, when you leave comments anywhere,
Please play nice.
We want to give a shout out again to our friend Ayman Saman, who has a new YouTube channel, and the little information that he sent to us about this was, I think, very, very pointed and very telling, and it is so right on point. He said, as an Arab American voiceover artist, I want to connect my culture of birth to my culture of choice. Arabic Dictionary is my attempt at making the Arabic language accessible to English-speaking audiences in a fun and jovial way. A foreigner is no longer foreign once you understand their language. And I'm going to play the little track that we have from that again.
Welcome to Arabic Dictionary. Today's word is Habibi. Habibi, one of the most versatile Arabic words. The literal meaning of Habibi is my lover or my love. In colloquial Arabic, it's used to mean baby, darling, buddy, friend, dude, sweetie, yo, bro, and many others depending on the context. Do I look fat in these jeans, Habibi? Yes, Habibi? Let me put my glasses on, Habibi. Hey, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Tell us in the comments if there are words you'd like us to feature next. Today's Arabic dictionary word is available on t-shirts, mugs, and other cool products that you can buy for yourself or your loved ones. Click the link in our bio or in the description below.
If you are in transition or have already transitioned and are in crisis, or you know of someone in crisis, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by specially trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to the translifeline.org for more information about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Maybe he should have said, yeah, Habibi. And as our second segment, and we're going to do just kind of a really quick wrap-up again of CocoCon, because there's just so much that happened. Oh, my gosh, just everything. All the people that we talked to, all the people that we saw. I had a great time.
I had a really wonderful time.
I was exhausted.
I was beat.
But,
and again, you wrote in an article for the wrap up that we need to take the day after off as well.
Absolutely.
Because we keep forgetting that it runs all the way through Labor Day.
Yes. And so I think go check out the article. It's going to.
The article says a lot. You have the link for that, but the article says enough.
Yeah, and so we'll just leave it at that because we're kind of running out of time on this episode. We are huge supporters of independent creators, and as you know by covering CocoCon, that there were a lot of independent creators there. I mean, there might have been a filmmaker there, comic book artists, writers.
Heck, we just talked to one earlier.
Exactly. Please buy their stuff, and if you go to a con, please have cash for them. Of course, we ran out of cash while we were at the con.
We always run out of cash.
Always, because there's just too much stuff. Please consider supporting independent creators. And an independent creator that is our very own Tommy Cannon, who is our Dr. Zombie cartoonist on Sunday, has an Indiegogo campaign running for a short film he would like to make with others. It is called The Greatest Sandwich Ever Sold, and there are a few days left for backers to commit to this project. Can you spare a few bucks to see this project made? Go to Indiegogo and search for The Greatest Sandwich Ever sold. Yes. Sold.
Yeah, sweetheart.
And we want to give a shout out to the Apocalypse Later International Film Festival. We're going to have more information about that in our next episode. We'll have a real shout out for that. But go look for Apocalypse Later International Film Festival, and you can find out all about that. Hal's going to be updating their website soon. Joshua Tree Feeding Program is a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV and AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. They are a supportive and welcoming place for people with HIV and AIDS. They have a great offering, nutritional guidance, relevant health information for those folks. They have supplements. They also have a food pantry where they can pick out the food that they want so that no food is wasted. They're not given a box of food. They can pick out what they want. It's just like a store. And they also started in 2010, the Joshua Tree Feeding Program started the Pet Assistance Project, where they give food and cat food, dog food, supplies, etc. for their pets so the fur babies can have food as well. And once a month, they give free hygiene products to the clients, and it's an all-volunteer organization. Please consider supporting Joshua Tree either through a single or monthly recurring gift. Go to jtfp.org. The Grand Canyon Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are hosting their third annual Red Dress Ball on November 16th at the Parsons Center for Health and Wellness. Proceeds go to Joshua Tree Feeding Program and AIDS Walk Arizona, sponsored by Aunt Rita's Foundation, and we are sponsors of that. And now it's time for our weekly recap.
Starting with Sunday, September 1st, Dr. Zombie Monster Family Physician number 64. 64.
Wow.
Man, and Tommy's a machine. I just love that guy. He just cranks this stuff out. Also, TG Geeks Coco Concast 2019 Episode 3, as well as Alexander James Adams' interview at CocoCon 2019. I really want to, people, you need to check that one out.
That is a great
It's interview. A great interview. Now, we will have the links. All these links I'm about to read will be in the show notes for this episode at our website at tggeeks.com. Also, Monday, September the 2nd, Labor Day, TG Geeks episode number 237. On Tuesday the 3rd, Fright Rags launches Ash vs. Evil Dead trading cards, as well as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre anniversary shirts and more.
I thought that said something else.
I know what you thought it said. Mm-hmm.
Just glancing at it. Yep.
Yeah, if you read it a little too fast.
A little too fast.
Anniversary. Okay, right. Yeah. On Wednesday, September 5th, Watchmen debuts October 20th on HBO. On Thursday, panel and book signing, best-selling Alexander X and Ancient Among Us author Edward Savio in person at FanX, and I believe that's in Salt Lake City. Yep. Also, we have a trailer for the new horror film Black Christmas that comes out soon. And on Friday, September 6th, new sushi number 78, Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond.
And Hamish is another machine.
Oh my gosh. God, he's another one. I just love that guy. Also, Row reviews the movie Before You Know It. And then lastly, on Saturday the 7th, CocoCon 2019 wrap-up. If you want to know everything there is to know about CocoCon, please check out that wonderful article that Keith wrote. Yep. And again, all these links will be in the show notes on our website for this episode, tggeeks.com. Thank you very much.
Yes, and in that CocoCon wrap-up, all the people that we talked to, everybody that was at the dealer's room and all of that kind of neat stuff have links and social media where I could find them. So check it out. Visit and comment on our Facebook page or tggeeks.com.
Have a couple of shout-outs we need to make. First, to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News for regularly republishing our content from time to time, and it is put out by the human Arkle, Brian Weber. Yes, we heard feedback from him earlier in this episode. You can find the Post-Dispatch News by going to Twitter and searching Arkle. That is at ARKLE. And he also has the Shameless Cash Grab. He's in season 3, and you can find that by going to youtube.com/Arkle Studios, and that's an all-in-one word. And we must give some love to some Facebook groups for allowing us to post episodes and articles on their pages. First, to Gay Geeks After Hours. We have to give them big thanks because they quite literally told us to share away all of our content, and that we do. Their URL is facebook.com/group/Gay Geeks After Hours, and that's all in one word too. And then to The Gay Geek for also allowing us to share all of our lovely stuff on their page, and their URL is facebook.com/group/The Gay Geek, again, all one word. And we must give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves, for giving us his blessings to share all of that content there.
Yes, thank you, Jeremiah. And lastly, we are found lastly. Yeah. Wow, I'm trying to rush through this because I thought we were running out of time. We kind of are. We found on TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. And you must use your podcast voice when you talk about that. Also find us on Krypton Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays. And listen to their other content. They are a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. KryptonRadio.com.
It's nice to know we... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's nice to know that we actually have audience who listens to us there, too.
Absolutely. We found that out at CocoCon. There's several people that listen to us on Krypton Radio. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We will have several links of things that we talked about and everything we talked about on that article for this webcast episode. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, Twitter, and Instagram, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357 from TG Squared Studios. I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and others. Peace.
Cheers.